Ministry suspended service. Some patients have already traveled and others booked flights after clearance by SHA. Then sasa inakuja naambia mshapanda ndege hujapanda? Fix tengo hujapanda. Sasa hatutawalipia.
Why?
Let me read why. Hopefully there's a why in here. 5-year-old with a heart disease was all set for a life-saving flight to India. The air tickets were ready. The air tickets were ready, but out of the blue, the Ministry of Health suspended overseas medical travel support. Now, the boy is inconsolable and cannot understand the insensitivity of the government. Ednah had committed to pay 1.9 million, whereas the Social Health Authority, which is SHA, was set to foot the overseas treatment charges capped at $500,000 bob. Now, the donor has since withdrawn funding to redirecting it to other patients, leaving the Pipeline Estate Nairobi family in despair. That is a long short version of what is happening to this young man.
In the education sector, we have an interesting story here on page 10 of the Nation. Bachelor of Education primary option teachers barred from junior school jobs. I've read this article, I actually don't understand it. And I'm going to read it and see if you can make head or tail of it, because I can't.
Please do.
Hundreds of primary school teachers seeking deployment to junior school JS have been locked out following new rules announced by their employer. According to the Teacher Service Commission, tutors with a Bachelor of Education degree, primary option degree, do not qualify to teach junior school. Kenya has more than 220 primary school teachers, TSC Acting Chief Executive Evelyn Mutai said. The Commission has received 3,718 applications from primary school teachers seeking deployment to JS. Of these, only 1,436 applicants meet the requirements. Enclosed with this circular is the list of 1,436 teachers. Upon receipt, you will require to further vet and deploy qualified teachers to junior school in accordance with the guidelines provided, she said. In the circular to regional and sub-county directors of education, TSC said teachers with the BEd primary option do not meet the threshold to teach in junior school. Now this is where I get confused.
Bachelor of Education in what? BEd in what?
They have primary option. Meaning you are trained to teach either in the primary school.
Yeah, yes. So secondary, but this is junior secondary we're talking about.
Yes. Qualified teachers, now listen to this, must have at least a diploma in education with a minimum grade C at the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, KCSE examination or its equivalent, plus a minimum grade of C plus in 2 teaching subjects offered in the curriculum, or 2 principals and 1 subsidiary at A level. Teachers with a C plane in KCSE but who later pursued diploma in education and BEd also qualify. See, now. Okay. Additionally, those who attained a mean grade C plane in KCSE before December 31st, 2015 and scored C plus or above in 2 teaching subjects can teach in junior school, MS said in the circular. The documents to be verified by the education officials include original certificate, copies of our academic certificates, transcripts, KCSE examination certificates, payslips, and where applicable, special needs education qualification. Then they talk about deployment letters. I find it confusing. Either it is the person who wrote it who probably didn't get their facts right. On the one hand, you're being told with a degree you don't qualify.
Yeah.
But you
with
see
the diploma.
Yes, people who have a diploma in education, a diploma is not a degree. There are people who had plain Bachelor of Arts degrees or Bachelor of Science and wanted to become teachers. They would go and get a diploma. When you study Bachelor of Education, within it is embedded the same sort of information that you get in the diploma course.
Yes.
And when you say primary option, it means this person was trained with a Bachelor of Education degree focusing on subjects that are taught in the primary school.
Yes.
So when they say you don't qualify junior school, is it primary or is it secondary? What are you talking about?
Junior schools, I think it's talking about the junior this junior
junior school, is it secondary or is it primary?
It is in primary. It is domiciled in the primary schools.
This is where my confusion arises. Okay, because senior school is secondary.
Yeah.
Okay. So you already have a degree that qualifies you for what was known as a primary school
before 2015.
Yes, exactly. So this junior school, what is this that you're going to be taught that this individual was not trained in to teach? That's where my confusion arises.
Because I think I heard somewhere you saying that they will consider degrees after 2015, or is it up to 2015 going forward, going backwards? Is it 2015, 2014, 2013?
Let me read it. Additionally, those who attained a mean grade C in KCSE under university bridging course before 2015 and scored a C plus or above in 2 teaching subjects can also teach in junior school. Now, when you go for a degree, the requirements are higher than that of a diploma.
Yes.
True.
So, again, why is this person who had higher qualifications being disqualified from training or teaching, and yet somebody who did a bridging course can now teach? That's where my confusion rises.
And I think also, it is just, I think that is a problem that if it is true, if the writer of that report really got it right, if that is what they said, then it means that these people can still go back to this technical, is it technical teaching, whatever, so that they can be able to get whatever.
No,
if you said,
but why? You're trained as a teacher already.
Yes.
If the training was for primary school, remember now the junior school, junior secondary school, I think they have some bits of the secondary school. That's why they are just called junior secondary school. Okay, domicile.
Patricia,
they are being domiciled in primary schools. Yes, please.
If you look at the way a teacher is trained, if you are trained to teach primary school, this is my view, you can teach secondary school. The difference with primary school teachers is that they taught everything. From maths to what. Secondary school, you segment the teaching. There are those who teach history, there are those who teach geography, there are those who teach blah, 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 blah. Primary school teachers, when I say teach everything, which means they can teach. But even those in secondary school can teach. Once you understand the teaching methods and what is required to teach, all you need to do is to be familiar with the subject matter. And you can teach it.
Yeah, I agree with you because my aunt is a retired teacher. And I remember she told me that anaweza funza everything in primary. She's a primary teacher, retired. And she told me that she can teach everything. She just retired last year. Retired kitambo.
Yes.
And alikuwa anambia hadi PE.
Yes.
Hadi PE anaweza funza. Hadi mathematics ya primary atafunza. English, Kiswahili, geography, whatever. Bora ni ya primary atafunza yoyote. Now the questions it is asking, and I feel it's valid, and you've said that maybe they need to go back to a technical training to hiyo sasa hiyo ni kustress sasa walimu for nothing,
because what I understand is maybe if you've done a degree which is not in teaching, yes, you can always go back and
yes, you can. Those who have not, but
those who have not done in education.
This article is talking about people who have a degree in teaching.
Bachelor of Education.
It's teaching.
Yeah.
You know, I have a Bachelor of Education also, so I know what I'm talking about here. Even though they have changed it over time, but we would be posted to schools and you would be given subjects to teach that you didn't study. I studied at undergraduate level literature, linguistics in English. There was linguistics in Kiswahili, French. Okay? English.
Yeah, so you
the first school I went to,
yes,
I was asked to teach Kiswahili
in a high school. Yes.
Yes.
Na ukachukua textbook ukaenda ukafunza.
Utasoma hiyo kitu utafunza. You teach English. Yes, you will. I went to another school. I was told to teach economics.
And you did.
Yeah, but I done it in A levels. I just went to refreshing mind. You can teach it. You have been taught to teach, so you know how to teach. The subject matter requires reading. I would read more than my students. That's how I got to know. So you can teach. So when I see this and I'm wondering, what on earth are these people talking about? If you go to a resource-constrained schools, haki, you will teach even things you never thought you would teach. So, because those students need to be taught. Well,
my point was, if for example you've been teaching in the primary school, you've been teaching, for example, in the primary school. Maybe you needed, maybe they're talking of this person needs a refresher course, maybe to be able now to teach on that advanced level.
No, this article doesn't.
That
do
was
that.
just my thinking anyway.
No,
I'm not.
No. Let me tell you the practicality of our education system.
Yes.
You will teach what that school needs to be taught. Forget what you studied. You will teach what needs to be taught. That's how it works. You've been deployed there. You studied what I studied as an undergraduate. You will be told to teach geography. You will read and you will teach.
That geography.
Oh, yes. If they lack maths, you will be told, see, you trained as a teacher. Maths, you teach.
Well, maybe the methodology they do use in teaching, is it the same as primary and secondary school?
Teaching methodology is teaching methodology.
It's all the same, yeah?
The difference comes in because of the ages that you're teaching.
Yes.
The approach will be different.
Also, it's
How
the
you
approach.
teach a 5 or a 6 or a 7-year-old is not the same way you teach a 14, 15-year-old. A 70-year-old doesn't have a big base of knowledge. So you take that into account. You are helping them build that building blocks at the very, very earliest stages of their learning. Secondary school, you already have knowledge. You even passed an exam.
Yes.
So you know, you have knowledge. At that level, the knowledge is limited.
I'm still going back to the point CT has raised there, because you, by virtue of being a teacher in primary, and by the way, just to be clear to the audience, are you saying that a teacher in primary can teach up to the junior secondary?
I am saying a teacher can teach anything. That's really what I'm saying.
Or even in
where
high
you
school.
can teach.
Yes.
If you are asked to teach, you will be able to teach. The only difference is this: when you have that option of basic and secondary, is you are taught additional skills for teaching younger people, younger minds.
So you go through a pedagogy
Yes,
process where you acquire.
Yes, you understand, because you study child psychology. Now you apply that to the teaching of young minds. How it is they take in information, how it should be presented. Okay. There's a uniqueness to it.
Yeah.
By the time they're at the level of secondary school, they already know these things. And they know them because the people who taught them at the primary level understood how to inculcate this knowledge and information to them. That was the point. But you're asking me, a trained teacher can teach anything.
Yes, I agree. So now, and coming now from a teacher, this is literally now the horse's mouth. If you were to advise Gava, and I think this is now the Ministry of Education, what would you tell them?
I wouldn't advise Gava.
But that's why I've asked if you
If you are, we are not telling you to go and
I'm
advise
answering
them.
your question. I would not advise Gava because...
please advise me to advise them.
No, I would not. Because what needs to be done is known. It is not a secret. It's not something that requires somebody to be advising.
Yes.
Students have been in school since yonks. Didn't start yesterday. It's not a new subject we're dealing with. The teaching of people in primary school, secondary school, junior school, it is teaching. It is the familiarity with the subject and the content and the manner it should be taught. The difference when you bring in CB or CBC is that the student-centered nature of this particular learning is that the student not just is taught, but the student is examined over a period of time and not with one big examination at the end of the term. Okay, continuous assessment is at the core of it, and the practicality of the subjects.
Yes.
Okay, and the stimulus response that a child needs to develop with regards to what they are being taught is what now is introduced. That's why the teachers had to go to a course to actually understand this. But anyone who studied and had a BEd was taught this anyway.
Yeah.
And
And actually, to answer your question
Yes.
about teachers going back to technical colleges again to refresh or whatever, to add them these new skills, when I was at KU, I remember during the holidays, I would see teachers.
Teachers, yes.
These are both primary and SECO, especially those who are looking for promotions, would come to add a skill or two.
It's called
They do.
in-service training.
Yes.
in service training. So
Exactly.
basically, that is what I was.
And they used to come in
Talking
droves.
about-
And in that 1 month or 2 months of the holiday, because sometimes we had, the summer holiday, which was a bit longer. But sometimes the holiday would be like literally just 1 month.
Yes.
In that 1 month of holidaying, those teachers would come and they would learn and they would be assessed through examinations, and they would live there with and some would come every other depending on what exactly, because some of them were
pursuing, some were pursuing a master's,
exactly,
some even a PhD,
right?
So that's how you learn.
Actually, I met one of my teachers who at the time from high school, who was now pursuing a master's. So the training,
those
they
are the
have.
things. Yeah, those are the things I was talking about, and even refresher courses, just such things. If you feel like these people have already studied the same thing that you require, but then you feel that they are not enough. So what else? What do you do? That's why I was just saying, like, if anything, there is anything that needs to be done, let it be refresher.
My friend, we have a surplus of 500,000 jobless graduate teachers in Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay. 500,000 wako tu teachers, not people with a degree trained to teach. That's according to Kupet. So 500,000. So the human resource is not the issue. It's not the issue at all.
And actually, if you remember, the NAT official who was here last week, one thing that he mentioned is the fact that some of the conversations they're actually having now with Gava in terms of their compensations and so on and so forth was about NAT and Kupet, because they're saying there are some teachers who now qualify to be in Kupet.
Yes,
there's
and
some
still in NAT.
Yes. So alikuwa anasema those are some of the other because even those transitions will come with difference in pay. I get. So I think now it's high time we get people. Hata kama City anakataa kwenda advise Gava. City at what point
you need to just go and advise.
We shall need not him necessarily, but we shall need people to go.
I don't know whether our country
needs to be done is known. You don't need advice. You just need to implement what you know you need to implement, and not play politics with the education sector.
Yeah.
Okay, there is a story of interest here, and this is what it said. Actually, it is a question, and of course we have different opinions from two people. Yeah. And the question is, should petty offenders' records be expurged? The question is, should petty offenders' records be expurged? This one, Eric Demange, who is a policy consultant and PhD student, said yes. And this is what he backed up the yes with. He said, don't judge people by their past. This was Embakasi East MP Babu Owino's proposal. Should be implemented urgently because it will unlock opportunities and expand access for many, particularly the youth. True prosperity begins when the society allows young people to rebuild their lives after settling their debts. By embracing such reforms, Kenya can achieve a fair balance between justice and opportunity. A legal amendment would ensure that citizens are judged by who they are and not by past mistakes. If Kenya is serious about youth prosperity, reforms must focus on dismantling unnecessary barriers, legal, financial, and systemic, that deny youths a fair chance to thrive.
Now, first of all, allow me to acknowledge a lady here, Tesh Wamberia. Tesh, a very good morning to you. You're saying, I like your discussions and analysis. Nothing new is here. Ask the corporate executives you occasionally host what they have to do to sail their agenda through parliamentary committees. Tesh Wamberia, thank you so much. That is via X. Now, hiyo story umesema ya ku-expand na ku-delete.
It was a proposal by the Embakasi. Yes.
Sasa swali ni, first of all, when we say petty offenses, what are we talking about? How petty are these offenses? Yes, because there are some offenses.
Yes,
there are some offenses. To be honest, we can delete from the system. For instance, patisho ulipatikana ukiiba kuku na ukweli mambo ni ulikuwa na njaa. Hiyo kuku ukuiba ati because ulikuwa unataka kudhulumu mtu yoyote. Unaona? Ulipata mtu ameekelea pesa zake vibaya kwa meza, ukachukua sababu you had an emergency, maybe you needed to buy food, you needed maybe to pay a bill, stima ilikuwa imekatwa, you need it because uko na mtoto kwa nyumba. So there are some things we can delete and say okay, fine,
this one we can, this one we can ignore.
Yes, but there are some that we might consider petty,
but they are not petty.
They are just, yes, they are seeds just germinating within you, or rather growing within you, and they're developing, and one day they'll become a tree that we might need to cut down with an axe.
You have a point.
So, and especially if someone has shown rehabilitation, Yes, umeoneshana rehabilitation that you're willing to change, you have found an alternative way. Ndio siku ingine ukiona kuku ya mtu usiibe, useme lakini guys, si last time niliba kuku na mkaniachilia, si muniachilie tu kwa hii njia. Sababu sasa you might make it a habit. You might become a chicken thief every other month because now uliona chicken thieving can be forgiven.
Can be.
Yeah, because siku moja utaiba ng'ombe. And now that's a different story. So yes, I am agreeing with the
you
MP.
You know, in Swahili, there is this statement they usually say that hata mbuyu ulianza kama mchicha.
Okay.
Ukweli.
Yeah.
Mbuyu
hata ule mbuyu unauona hivi ulianza kama mchicha. Like, kama mchicha.
Sorry.
Ulikuwa umesikia?
Ni mchicha.
Ilikuwa mchicha.
Oh. But yeah, so
that is just a backup statement for whatever you are saying that
kwa hivyo makosa yale tunaangalia ambayo tunataka kudelete from the system, hata nitumie hiyo jina. Perhaps but there are some offenses I'm thinking we can maintain. They might not be available publicly, yes, but the day we shall need to retrieve them, we shall find them.
Well, this is also another opinion from this one Helen Muthoni. She's a sales lady, and she said it could affect future search for justice. And this is what she says. The proposal by Embakasi lawmaker Babu Wino to have minor criminal records expunged from the government database should not be allowed to pass. This could lead to the defeating of the cause of justice in future criminal cases. The fact that an individual has served their full term for any offense does not cleanse them of their original sins.
For
Even
example,
laymen in the criminal justice system will tell you that an individual's past record is always critical in analyzing and determining possible future behavior. Retaining the records of offenders is not necessarily meant to discriminate against them, but to help in future management and decision making when the need arises. As a country, we do not want to operate in an environment where the justice system is compromised. The only safeguards that need to be put in place is that no person should be denied an opportunity on account of their previous wrongs, especially if the person affected has served their punishment.
You see, crimes of violent nature, hizo hazifai kusaulika. They can be locked away in a box, but someone needs to have that key. Crimes against vulnerable people like children, women, grandparents, the elderly. Those are crimes that shouldn't be forgotten. Financial crimes such as corruption.
You see, those can be deleted.
No. No, those ones
they shouldn't.
Yes.
But wait for a minute. Do they fall under the petty offenses?
That's what I'm saying. I might slap you and someone might look at that as a petty offense. Lakini si partition ndalimwongelesha vibaya, then in the heat of the moment, Mbuvi akam slap.
It's an assault.
Exactly. So someone else might depending on also who is arguing your case or arguing the other side's case. But I'm saying such kinds of crimes, even if it was just a single slap, na hiyo story ikaishia hapo, maybe we even agreed out of court kind of situation, that is not something I feel like should be forgotten. Yes. Because if I slapped you once, chances are I will slap you again, or I can slap someone else.
So now, do you want to have your certificate of, if you go for the certificate of good conduct, behind there, kama ulikuwa na record of wrongdoing, of offenses that you committed, they're usually written, they're listed there.
Really? I've never acquired one.
That's what I usually hear. Maybe City has an experience.
No,
Mine
I've never
is
acquired a certificate of good conduct.
Neither have I, so I wouldn't know.
I honestly don't know how that process works.
Because I think at the back of that good conduct certificate, there's a place, there's a page there, which you can
have you gotten one yourself?
Yes, I have a good certificate. So behind there
was a page that was empty for you.
There's a page by there that shows
list ya
makosa. I'm clear, bro.
Now just be honest, Patricia. This is a safe space.
Hey, I'm clear. I'm clear, but I hear they do, right? I don't know that they do. You can just check. Can check on the net.
I want to turn this conversation to something that is interesting in a place called Yokohama.
Yokohama, Japan.
Yes. There's a conference that is taking place there. It's the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. It's called TICAD. Okay?
The one that President Tutu has gone to attend.
Yes. Now, I want to mention this. When President Kibaki came into power, there was a time when very many African leaders trooped to China. Okay? And one wondered, what are they going to do in China? Well, China had begun something similar to TICAD. It was called the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCA. Now, these are initiatives that these countries had taken to try and foster their unique way of helping foster trade development within the African continent, on terms that are different from what we knew as aid that came from the West or the Bretton Woods institutions. But even with these conferences, you will find that there is cooperation between some of these institutions that we know of and the governments. But the purpose is not just to foster that understanding. The thinking behind it is so that the African nations can focus and with that aid develop something sustainable and something uniquely theirs. Something which meets their needs, not somebody else's needs. Now, if you look at TICAD and you look at the country of Japan, Japan has an aid agency called JICA, J-I-C-A, Japan International Cooperation Agency. Now, most people in this country don't even know that JKUAT, otherwise known to Kenya as JKUAT, okay, was actually built by the Japanese. Now, most people don't know this. Built from ground up, built. Yeah, no. If you go to the Kenya Medical Research Institute, there are very many parts of that particular institute that were built again by JICA.
Kemri.
I'm talking about Kenya Medical Research Institute, yes. If you look at the bridges that connect the eastern part of the country to the coast, beginning with the river Sabaki, coming to the Kilifi Bridge,
Yes.
coming to Mtwapa, coming to the Nyali Bridge, all those were built by the Japanese government, right? And of interest is when you look at the loans that the Japanese government offers, depending whether they're concessional, whether for development, and depending whether it's education, health, training, and so forth, the interests that they charge are often unbelievable. 0.01% to 1%. That is for least developed countries. That's one. Now, when you know that such loans exist, one often asks that even if you are to borrow and you are not a low income country and you're being charged from, say, 1% to 1.5%, why it is that we don't go for those loans and yet we go for loans that when you're told the interest rate and it's denominated in the dollar, you say, but this one, we're going to have a problem here. They even offer a grace period, meaning where you don't have to pay the principal 10 years. Sometimes they even give you 20 to 40 years. At that rate.
You sort out your issues first.
Sort out your issues, then you pay. You live poly. Now, why am I raising this issue? When 40 African countries congregate in one country for such discussions, it is a big thing.
Yes, true.
And you have to ask, what is it that we will gain as a country as a result of this particular conference? And that's why I started off by mentioning what we have already gained over time. Okay? If you look at this road that begins from City Mortuary, going towards Junction Mall.
Okay? Right, Ngong Road.
Yes, Ngong Road. That was built by the Japanese as well. Meaning they funded it, but the Chinese contractors are the ones who actually built that particular road.
Wait, you're saying it was funded by Japan?
Yes. But
built by China?
Yes, Chinese contractors.
All right.
If you look at the ring road that takes you from Dennis Pitt Road and then goes to Kileleshwa and Lavington, that again was them. I'm simply trying to give an example of some of the things that such aid has done for us. And I'm going somewhere with this. If you look at the Western countries, some of them focus specifically on things like, say, the provision of water to the country. And there are countries that do this. Okay? There's some who focus on education. All right? Like there are countries that you've never heard of, like say, or you don't hear of, like Hungary.
Yes.
Who have given us scholarships for people to study. One doesn't hear of them very often, but they exist and they do offer. I am focusing on Japan specifically because it is not every day you hear of a country that holds a conference specifically to bring people who are interested in the development of another continent to their country to discuss things that are useful to them. That is something that is rare. And this is the 9th.
Actually, I was forgetting about the bridge, the Ndongo Kundu, ile bridge ya Mombasa.
So just
it's
Ndongo
also
Kundu.
Yes.
That entire infrastructure of the Ndongo Kundu area and the free trade area, again, it is JICA. So you are very correct in saying that. It's not just the bridge.
So mimi niko na swali Patricia na City.
Yes.
Now that we know of all this, and clearly you've highlighted a couple of things that perhaps many Kenyans didn't know.
Yes.
For instance, the JQuat thing, I only found out about last week, I think it was, when you mentioned it here. And many other, things. Japan isn't loud about what they do.
They are never loud.
They don't.
Never.
Yes. They're not very loud.
Not just thumping. No conditionalities
Inakujanga tu chini ya
that you
maji.
must stand on your head before you get this loan, and the other you must hold your left ear before you get this loan. None of that nonsense.
I'm not saying that the rest should make noise, or rather shouldn't make noise and be quiet like Japan. I'm just saying, and I've seen what, like for example, the Japan initiatives that we've just been told about here. They are good, awesome. They have actually positive impact on the community and the society that is Kenya. Why then do we struggle with our noisy donors and those that give us very weird conditions, and those that give us very high interest rates, and those that give us conditions like we shall give you the money and we shall be the ones to come and construct?
Isn't that the question? Isn't that the question? And this really is a subject of debate. When you have partners who, when you look at the manner in which they want to go about helping you, you can actually see that this actually would be useful to us. And yet we go to people who, we're not saying that it won't be, my beef with the Bretton Woods institutions is this austerity nonsense they keep telling us about. I already don't have money, and then you're telling the government to take what I don't have, and that's supposed to help spur development. How? That's what higher taxes and austerity measures do. We've already acknowledged we have a problem, we don't have money. Then you're telling these people, tax these people some more. Oh, how is that going to help you? You need an infusion of cash into the economy for it to be jump-started. This one, you're crippling it. And yet that's supposed to be a useful measure.
And you see, I was just looking at maybe the some of the conditions that are attached to these projects that we've been receiving from Japan, and you see there are conditions that are quite achievable. See conditions kama zile tunasikia zenye from those other countries we are talking about, because I'm just looking at the issue of the financial conditions ambapo they are saying that they are giving concessional loans. Now, City had talked about the percentage, the interest rates that they are talking about, and even the waiting period, the grace period they usually give people, which is quite something that is quite good and necessary for the country, considering the situation that we are in right now.
Have they been itemized, for instance? Like, do we have any factual figures?
For example, there is the Mombasa Gateway Bridge and the Ndongo Kundu. Yes, economic zone funding of 350 billion shillings, according to the search that I've done, is structured as low interest, long-term loans repayable by Kenya over decades. We are talking
not
decades.
The long one, 20 to 40 years.
Yes.
Here.
Then there are some other conditions here they are talking about. Governance and transparency conditions. That strict tendering rules. Yeah. So they are saying, unlike some bilateral deals, JICA requires open and transparent procurement processes. Kenya must comply with these procurement guidelines, which emphasize on anti-corruption safeguards. Which is quite important.
Yes.
Then they are looking, actually their conditions are quite good.
They're clear.
Feasible, clear. Yeah. Transparency, they are all about transparency. They are talking of sustainability and climate alignment. Of course, whatever we are doing, the projects that we are doing here, they should be low carbon, sustainable growth. They are saying Japan avoids financing coal and environmentally harmful ventures. Looking at some of the projects that zimefanywa katika nchi yetu. Right now we keep on crying of carbon in our country, and when you look at it, it's okay. It came from some of these industries, foreign industries. Tunalia kwamba these people came to exploit. In the process, sisi tulibaki na the effects of the work, the exploitation they were doing in our country. Tumebaki na the effects. So look at such kind of a country that looks at the impact after we have done this project. What is the impact on the people that we are living there on the ground?
See, the accountability factor is absolutely necessary, because one of the things we have some really opaque procurement procedures in this country. You have a process, but the person who gets the business has already been predetermined. This is just window dressing so that you can see processes are being followed. Okay? And especially when it involves huge projects with huge amounts of money. If you look at the education sector and you look at just the number of people who have studied in Japan, and even the program that currently exists where the Japanese, the country of Japan is actually encouraging Africans to go and study in Japan and even live and work in Japan. Japan also has an aging population. They do. It's not loud, but it is there.
You know, I've been watching a couple of documentaries coming from Japan, and some of the ones that I focus on are on their work ethic, organizational structures, organizational culture as well. And some of the things that are very clear to them: hierarchy and respect. This is now according to the workplace culture. There's collectivism, so that means teamwork, group harmony, and collaborative workspaces. They're hardworking, of course, and they do work long hours. Then they have something called company loyalty. Loyalty to one's company is paramount, with many individuals staying with the same company for their entire career. Then there is senpai kohai relationship, where a mentorship system where senior colleagues guide junior colleagues.
Wow.
Then there is nomikai. This is again another culture where after work drinking sessions, often with colleagues and superiors, are a common social activity. Then there is horenso, which is reporting, contacting, and discussing. A key principle emphasizing regular communication and information sharing with teams. And you can go on and on and on and on. They even have continuous improvement, consensus building. Now, the reason why I've brought that up is because of a very simple situation that we lack majority of this in Kenya.
True.
Majority of these cultures, we only have them in writing, or you're encouraged by your superiors to do certain things in the office.
There's no written policies.
Exactly. Now, if you look at how Japan works as a whole, it has translated to how they produce as a country. Because here in Kenya, you can see there's a lot of laziness, for example, in the public sector. There's a lot of complacency. There's a lot of impunity. And you can literally see that in our output. When we do our own projects as Kenyans, they're good, but not as good as. And it's not because we don't have the expertise. Our universities here, including JKUAT, produces amazing engineers. Kenyatta University, UON, and Moi, amazing doctors. Even the private institutions like Akina Kemu, MKU, awesome doctors. Doctors, ukikit nae unaona this person is brilliant. But when you sit with them here in studio and they explain to you the kind of problems they're facing in the workplace, and then corruption comes up and impunity comes up, and then you see the kind of country we are running. You won't see that in places like Japan. You won't see that in places like China. It's not like they're perfect. You know, we know Japan has got high rates of suicide because of that overworking thing, people working for long hours to a point whereby they don't even have a social life in terms of families. They don't have wives or husbands and so on. Actually, people there are sleeping with dolls. They're creating cartoons, avatars on their phones, and they become their partners in life. But if we were to take away some of those bad aspects and or negative aspects, and then we apply them
just
here,
take the positives,
I believe it would be very productive, super productive. Why are we getting money from Japan Japan literally is a country full of islands. To island wengine tudogo, but collectively they make a very, yeah. And their population is higher than ours, for sure. Lakini, these people literally live in the water. And they are doing amazingly well than us, who have got both land and water. We've had Japan, actually, they have an elderly, whatever.
They have an aging population.
Aging population, yes. Yet here, we are being told by every expert that about 65% of us are youth within the working,
youthful, yes,
working whatever. So you wonder why we have better opportunities, we have more time than these guys, we have the resources that we have. Japan doesn't. I don't know, maybe they do. I don't know. Do they have oil? Do they have natural gas? Do they have diamonds? Do they have gold? Do they have all this? Yet here on the continent we have all that.
Yeah.
But we shall go to Japan,
yes,
where now we are having the TICAD thing going on, conference. 40 heads of Africa are there to do what? To
benchmarking,
to borrow money,
to ask
they
for
come
help.
back here. Yani Japan can fund 40 countries if they wanted. They can actually fund the entire of Africa if they wanted. So you it's time to ask ourselves. I mean,
there's something before
they also have a very serious saving culture.
Yes.
Then there's that as
they
well.
save money like that's why their government can borrow, and you can find their debt to GDP ratio maybe colossal, 200% or something, but they don't have a problem because usually they are borrowing their own money in their own currency, so it doesn't pose a problem. And they borrow what is there.
So one thing I admire about them, the issue, if they are giving us any projects, if we are doing any projects with them, is the issue of monitoring and evaluation. That aspect is something that we've been lacking from these other places where we've been borrowing money. Okay, it's supposed to be done, but I don't think whether they are this strict like the Japan will be. They have it. Well, just two aspects there that I want us to look at before we finalize. And this is where these people are continuously monitoring implementation. You know why I pointed this out? Is because you remember last time, there's a time Kenyans were writing to IMF telling them, stop giving us loans. If you cannot be able to follow up, you cannot monitor to see if the funds have done whatever they were meant to do. Do you remember that time?
IMF actually do follow up. It's not that they don't.
But once they follow up, because of course there's someone you keep on saying here that we borrowed and it never came, never arrived.
It wasn't IMF.
It is not. I'm just giving an example. Eurobond, yes. They, unlike these other lenders who are giving us money and not being able to follow up.
The loans that we have a problem with are commercial loans. It's like you go to a bank and borrow. And the bank lends you the money, and the rates will be industry rates.
How many projects do we have that are still pending? They have never been completed. These dams we've been talking about.
That is the bane of our existence. And it's part of the problem that we have. And that's what has raised the question with those who have been keen on the subject of ODS debts. This money that was borrowed and wasn't used, whoever borrowed it, then who should pay for it? Not the whole country. Yes, but you borrowed it. If it came to the country and was in the consolidated fund, we can trace where it never did. But we know it is you who borrowed it. So you pay for it. Why is the country paying for a loan which the country did not benefit from, but was borrowed in the name of the country? It is a valid argument. You know, the thing, though, that I want to emphasize is this. The Japanese have a culture that supersedes everything that they do. When a Japanese citizen works hard, it is what they should do. It's not exceptional, and they're not expecting a pat on the back. That when you raise a high standard and live by it, then you are a true citizen of that country. So people exert themselves to excel. Part of the suicide rates that you're talking about is because the expectations are really high and some people just can't meet it, and they figure, this one. Or someone doesn't do well, they will seek to...
They're so disappointed in themselves.
Yes, because they know they've disappointed the family. But it is that ethics. Us, we are the complete Opposite.
Kwanza mtu wenyu akikuona unafanya kazi sana at you're waking up early at 4 am to go to work, anashanga unaenda kufanya nini
Wewe or even at work wewe unafanyisha nini?
Here in the office you're the one who's doing all the reports. You've come on time. People start looking at you like Patricia unatuchomea sisi wengine, you're making us look bad.
Others will tell you this is a country's property. What are you telling me?
No, so, you'll be told specifically si ya mama yako.
It doesn't belong to your mother. Yes. Hii kampuni si ya mama yako. Hii si ya mama yako.
And you see that's why I took the culture of Japan as a whole. And of course CT ametusaidia pia kuiweka into context of look, for them this is what they decided they're going to do and they run with it. Now the question here you should be asking yourself as a Kenyan, number one, what is our culture? We know for a fact kuna a few individuals who are really doing what they're supposed to be doing. You know, people who have got integrity, people who are upstanding citizens. They will not allow impunity to thrive around them and so on and so forth. But the vast majority of us, unfortunately, we do not have that accountability aspect in us. Yeah.
You know,
and if it is there, you are afraid of being the one to actually, be the one to raise your hand up and say, guys, look, here we are doing something wrong. Because the moment you become the odd one out, then
you'll be targeted.
Exactly. There are consequences to you being the odd one out in that particular aspect.
You know how we treat whistleblowers in this country. Somebody says, guys, this is wrong. Where?
Someone has to be out of the country to actually tell us that. By the way, do you know munaibua pesa?
You
remember the Githongo situation?
They ran out of the country. So I was just thinking aloud about the Japan. You said inchi ya milima ni milima ama ni
kuna milima of course, but they have more forests than land and they have more water than anything.
Of islands.
Islands. Is it that depending on where you are, sometimes the challenges that you have as a country, they also make you create that
resilient.
Culture. Yes,
it does. Remember, if you look at the history, let's talk about the current. Japan is one of those countries that is often hit by earthquakes in ways that very few countries on the earth are.
Yes.
Mpaka zinatengeneza tsunami zingine mbaya sana.
And you know what they've done? The engineering has come up with buildings that move with the earthquake. It doesn't collapse.
They literally have a skyscraper but has shock absorbers.
Yeah, in a move, no cracks, nothing.
In a bucket.
When you have people who are proud of their country and are proud of doing good, you see, we are not proud in doing good. Us, we are proud in being nefarious. And when you are not a thieving XYZ, then you're considered stupid.
Or should I also say that we are comfortable with what we are right now?
We are comfortable with the wrong that we do.
Yeah, we just become so comfortable because really looking at
and now we are beyond the point of saying that we should have known better, because we actually know better.
We do know better.
We already know better.
We do. There is a country which exists because there were people, and there have been, and there still are people who do good. That's why we have a country. Because if everybody was rotten to the core, there'd be no country. We'd have stripped it bare by now. But we have this culture where we don't like rocking the boat
so much.
Not really.
Yeah.
And people who do so, why do you think the former Prime Minister is so well known? He consistently in history was doing the thing that many people did not want to do or were afraid to do. To say, now that was something that, why you were rocking the boat? Why don't you just, you see, even now, those who blame the Gen Z is because they are rocking the boat. They're saying, excuse me, this is not the way this thing should go. And the people are uncomfortable. We are uncomfortable with things that tell us exactly what and who we are. We are very uncomfortable with it. And we punish people who dare tell us that. We punish. Look at the backlash from this comment that was made regarding MPs. Just look at it. If this isn't play acting, as I said, there's a God, and we're in for some interesting times.
City shall be here a couple of weeks or days or months. I don't know how long this will take, but at the end of the game, at the end of the play, hapa tutazungumzia
we will know. And we will call some MPs to tell us what it is that they're kicking off us about.
Yeah.
Yes. some of these fairly loud MPs who like saying loud things, we'll call a few. So they can also tell us their views on this.
What is it, yeah.
Exactly, and whether the accusations that are being levied against them are false, and if so, where's the evidence that they are false?
I think, in conclusion, I think that Japan should become a broker for loans. Why am I saying this? You see those conditions ulisoma. I think Japan, when we need to borrow a euro bond, we do it through Japan. Okay, because Japan will not give us all the money for the rest of their lives. When we need money from China, we talk to Japan. So Japan receives the funds, then they disburse. So they become like the school bazaar. Yeah, they become like the school bazaar. Ndio tukitaka lunch, unaenda kwa school bazaar na mambo niaje,
ile pesa ile
uliachwa na madhe pocket money ni jenge. You know, such that even when we want to, when Africa needs to borrow money from America, America is like, msijali, Japan has got you, the bazaar, so that we can have. Because I'm looking at the projects that City mentioned, and those projects are actually awesome,
and they are
scandalous,
and they are durable.
Yes, scandalous.
You know, we have a fertilizer factory in Eldoret. You know who built it?
Come again? Who built what?
We have a
The
fertilizer
Japanese, yeah?
factory. Yes, in Eldoret. Fertilizer. Eco.
Yes.
Well, you don't hear about it, but again, you're right. If it was an exam, you'd have gotten 100 out of 100. Yes. So the thing is this.
Yes.
Our preference for things that benefit the individual has taken root, and as we say, here we are. What is the way forward?
All right. I will let the audience ponder on that. Right now, though, we are getting into the news with Winnie Maganga, and then our guest for this particular last hour has arrived. So do stay tuned for that conversation and much, much more.
Radio generation, the sound is fine. Pump it up, turn it high all the time. Let the music move you, let's sway. Radio G's got your jam all day.
Radio Generation, the home of urban soul. This is the Radio Generation News.
Good morning, I'm Winnie Maganga. Former Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria has said he was not dismissed from President William Ruto's government, clarifying that he chose to resign from his role as the senior economic advisor to the head of state. Kuria explained that his decision was informed by disappointment over how the government responded to Sabasaba protest, which led to deaths and destruction of property. He said the events of that day deeply unsettled him and compelled him to step aside from his position. Speaking during an interview on Citizen TV on Tuesday, Kuria revealed that he followed the protest closely while traveling back to Kenya on July 7th.
On the 8th of July, I went and told the president, it is hazy right now, and I feel like I need to have my head out there to be able to look at things more clearly. I was not fired, and I was not asked to resign. And the president actually regretted the fact that I resigned. He really regretted. I mean, it was unfortunate, as in his words. You know, he told me it is your decision, but it's unfortunate.
A Nairobi court has summoned government pathologist Dr. Johnson Odwor, Dr. Peter Ndegwa, and other medical experts to physically appear in ongoing inquest into the death of Jeff Mwathi. The hearing has been scheduled for October 21st, 2025. The directive was issued on Tuesday, August 19, 2025, by Milimani Principal Magistrate Rose Ndombi, who stressed the importance of having the doctors who conducted the postmortem testifying in person. Lawyer Duncan Okach, representing Lawrence Njuguna, popularly known as DJ Fatso, told the court that all parties, including the prosecution, agreed on the need for pathologists to give their evidence directly.
And this is his findings were actually questioned, leading to an exhumation and a second auto. The exercise he conducted is very not only to my client, and I believe many of the clients being represented,